Thank you for listening to this podcast from TRE, Talk Radio Europe, your voice in Spain and around the world. For more information, please visit TRE.radio.
Discuss, challenge, inform, comment, Viewpoint on Talk Radio Europe.
Giles Brown.
Live comment and discussion with studio guests. Viewpoint.
It is Tuesday, the 5th of May. Welcome to Viewpoint Talk Radio. It's currently the first programme with a panel of invited guests where we discuss the issues of the day. Should you wish to get your viewpoint across today, then these indeed are the numbers in which you can contact us in the next 2 hours or so.
To contact TRE, please call 952 78 4000. Email studio@tre.radio. Send us a WhatsApp on +34 645 99 67 95. Message us on Facebook, Talk Radio Europe Official, or tweet us at TRE Talk Radio.
Yes, indeed. Joined, I'll let you know who's on the panel in a little while. So let's have a look at, no, that's not what I want. So that's always a good start to the day. Let me just find... Oh, the papers have gone missing. Let me just quickly talk amongst yourselves for a minute. Is the light on? Yes, the light may be on, Paul, but there is absolutely nobody home. Let me just join in the studio at the moment by Andres Gallardo. Good morning to you, Andres.
Good morning, Giles. Good morning to you.
And indeed, bringing her own light and heat and brightness in this morning is the other member of the A-team, Alia Babapule. Good morning to you.
Everybody. Good morning, Giles. Good morning, world.
Good morning, world, indeed. Right then, if you want to get involved with this morning's Viewpoint, as I said before, these are indeed the numbers.
To contact TRE, please call 952 78 4000. Email studio@tre.radio. Send us a WhatsApp on +34 645 99 67 95. Message us on Facebook, Talk Radio Europe Official, or tweet us at TRE Talk Radio.
And let's have a look at what the newspapers are saying this morning. The Guardian writes that Donald Trump's attempt to use America's Navy to reopen the Strait of Hormuz risks pushing the Middle East back to the brink of war. Iranian drone attacks on the UAE lead the Financial Times, which reports that Tehran has warned the US not to enter the key trading route. Labour MPs plot Starmer putsch is the Times headline, as it reports the Prime Minister could be forced to name a resignation date if Thursday's election results are as bad as predicted. The Eye says Sakir's leadership rivals are circling ahead of a local election bloodbath. The Metro focuses on the PM's trip to Armenia, saying he's walking an EU tightrope over plans for closer trading links with the bloc. Conservative leader Kemi Badenoch pushes for a zero tolerance on crime. That's on the Mail. A former nurse's critique of Reform UK leader Nigel Farage leads the Mirror. Claims about the West Midlands Police and Crime Commissioner are splashed across the Express. The Sun says the total number of small boat arrivals will hit 200,000 when the next channel crossing occurs. The Telegraph reports the Metropolitan Police are seeking a UK trial for the main suspect in Madeleine McCann's disappearance, and a rise in spider bites across the UK has been called a bite mare by the Star. And in fact, I was bitten by one last night somewhere here in the TRE studios. The culprit is still at large, so if I should suddenly just go and web off the ceiling, then you know. Joined in the studio by Andres Gallardo. Good morning. Oh, I've said that already this morning. See, there you go. 9-5.
I can say good morning again.
Oh, you can say good morning. Yeah.
Yeah, I'll say good morning again.
Sorry.
We're missing the addendum.
Yes, we're missing the addendum.
Just for the benefit of your listeners.
Yes.
I couldn't find any Labour caps for my coffee this morning, so I've taken the route of using a baby blue coffee cup.
Ooh.
That's the bit of interest that
really works. Right then, good morning to you. So looking at some of the main stories I've been breaking over the last 24 hours. Obviously, front and centre is going to be Hormuz. But what's crossing your viewpoint, Andres? What's been the one of the main?
There's so many things. I mean, we got Hormuz. We've had the terror attacks in the Jewish community in London, and that triggered the the Prime Minister considering, doing something about the marches, pro-Palestinian marches that could, be part of the problem. You've got the boat or cruise liner in the middle of the Atlantic,
a new virus,
stranded with a new virus there, and apparently it could well be heading towards the Canary Islands where they could receive medical attention. That's still to be confirmed. So many things. And Atletico Madrid playing Arsenal tonight in the Champions League. Yes. How about that?
Yeah, well, Ali is obviously wearing her Arsenal away strip today, obviously, as you can tell. So just quickly looking at that, the quick one, one of the quick subjects that you touched on there. This is the medics working on Monday to evacuate 2 people with symptoms of this hantavirus after a suspected outbreak on a luxury cruise ship off West Africa carrying mostly British, American and Spanish passengers, officials said. 150 people are still stuck on the vessel after 3 people, a Dutch couple and a German national, died. Others fell ill, including a Briton who left the vessel and was being treated in South Africa, authorities said. The Dutch woman who died had tested positive. All 3 tested positive. It said that unclear if people with the symptoms still had the virus or other deaths were caused by. Now, hantavirus can cause fatal respiratory illness and can be spread when particles from rodent droppings become airborne. It doesn't transfer easily between humans, but Cabo Verde have said, no, we want nothing to do with this. You keep off our shores. And so they're heading to the Canary Islands, which is obviously Spain. And, yes, you do sort of think, what could possibly go wrong?
I was listening to a medical expert from Argentina this morning on the radio. And I say to Argentina because they seem to be the ones who have had more cases of hantavirus than any other country for some reason. And he was explaining that the fact that is not contagious from human to human might not be absolutely 100% correct. And it could be an element of transmission from human to human and is airborne. And it could be a new strain of the virus. He's supposed to be an expert from Argentina. Whether that is the correct scientific explanation or not, we won't know. The truth is that these poor people on this boat are stuck. I guess they are in their cabins, so they cannot even circulate around the boat, and uncertain what is going to happen to them in the next coming days, weeks. And a solution. And this, going back to the expert, one of the things he said is those who contract the illness, they need constant medical attention. So it's not like having a cold and you stay at home for a couple of days and that's fine. You do need to be hospitalized and you need assistance to be able to get better. These people on the boat, they're not getting that. If indeed they are infected, they might not be.
It would be a case of quarantining, wouldn't it?
Well, according to Reuters, the World Health Organization said the risk to the wider public was low, and there was no need for panic or travel restrictions. But the Cape Verde said they had not allowed the Dutch-flagged MV Honduras to dock as a precaution. It says that the WHO says it's identified 7 cases, including 2 laboratory-confirmed cases and 5 suspected cases. I don't know about... Sorry, Ali, you would like to get in here.
No, I was just thinking that these things happened before on cruises as well.
That was my... Yeah.
And the fact that you've got 8,000 people stuck on a ship, which is just sort of tootling along by itself in the middle of the ocean, going from this place to that place. Somehow we have not had, up until now, many of these outbreaks of some X number of illnesses. But it is a floating cesspool of... It's a cesspool of all sorts of things which could go wrong. We don't know when you go on. You might have picked up something, going on from one place to the other. I mean, if I look at the amount of travelling I did, and nothing really apart from a horrible bout of malaria in the end of Indonesia by Lombok, caught me one day. And I've been vaccinated, as I told you before, for things which I didn't even know existed. But you have all these people stuck together on a little floating island.
Yes.
Something's bound to happen. And that, in fact, more things haven't happened is quite extraordinary.
Just had an email in from the sales department to say thank you for that, and you've now just blown out all our luxury cruise line advertisers. So,
I've got
just to say, at this point, here's the disclaimer. TRE would just like to say that in no way, shape or form do we think that cruise liners are indeed, quote-unquote, floating cesspits. Cesspit pools, even.
I'm going to lend a hand to the cruise lining industry by saying that in terms of the statistics and the amount of people they are sailing on a daily basis on different cruise ships around the world, this is an unusual situation, I would say.
If
so
you hear
I
a knocking
still
on the
think
door, yes.
It's a little bit like saying, oh, there's been a plane crash, don't go on planes. It would be a bit,
I can say that I'm very surprised that more hasn't happened, actually, because if you think of the sheer numbers of people in close containment.
Yes.
But I'm sure that cruise liners know of the risks and they put in place, systems in place to avoid any problems, because anything that happens like that, I mean, the media attention to this particular case, because that was, I saw that on Sky News last night. Yeah. This morning it was on RAI, on Italian television, yes. On Spanish radio. So it is the media attention worldwide for one boat. Sorry, it's quite incredible. So
going to the WhatsApps on this.
We're fed up with the cruise.
No. This is about the cruise lines. And if you hear knocking on the door, that's Hannah Murray coming in to defend the cruise line industry, because she loves the cruise. So good morning. So. Yes, of course. In February 2025. Good morning to you, Richard. In 2025, Betsy Arakawa, the wife of Gene Hackman, she died from the same illness.
That's right.
Yeah.
Well spotted. Yeah. The risk of hantavirus to the wider public remains low, says the World Health Organization Regional Director for Europe. In North America, dozens of HPS cases occur each year, while in South America, that's your Argentinian connection, you see. More than 100 cases occur every year. Isolated cases and small outbreaks have occurred in Europe and Turkey. Cruise lines simply need to clean out their ships. Rodents FFS. So, yeah, I mean, it's just, rats on ships. I mean, I won't go on about, the plague in Venice and the whole thing, but...
Don't get me wrong. I think cruising in certain... is a huge business, of course. Billions go through. And for people who like to do cruises, go ahead. Absolutely no problem whatsoever. I was poking fun.
But the thing is, you see, because of that thing of which we no longer speak, which happened, that thing of which we no longer speak, which happened 6 years ago with because there was, if you remember correctly, there were people being quarantined on boats then as well, liners. Yes. And I just think all my bells went, oh, here we go. Are we perhaps pre-programmed, panel, to go every time there is, if it's not avian bird flu, it's I don't know, Colombian tree hugger virus or something like that. I mean, you know what I'm saying here.
But if this happened years ago, it wouldn't have had such media attention. But now everyone is got an alarm there that anything's you mention a virus and the panic alarms to start thinking, oh my God, this is the start of a new one. Of course it's not, and we shouldn't be worried about it. The thing is that it has to be dealt correctly, and while people are deciding what's the best way to dealing with it, you got all these people stuck on the boat in Cabo Verde, and thinking how and when are we going to get after this boat? So that's
952 78 4000. Good morning to Sam, who said apparently we are turning the heat up again. He's saying he's hysterical with laughter. He's saying at least the rats on boats. At least it's not snakes on planes, which of course is a very famous, very good indeed.
No Samuel L. Jackson to say about.
Yes, if you type in somewhere, if you autocorrect will actually turn his favourite saying into melon farmer. By the way, just in case you wanted to know that one. 952784000. Back after this.
Viewpoint with Giles Brown.
Thank you very much for the WhatsApp there. This radio station has just convinced me never to go on a cruise. No, that's not what we're saying. We're just saying that, if you're going to be... I mean, it could be worse. You could be stuck on a plane or in a lift or something like that, and then they...
Oh, a lift. That is scary.
Yeah.
That happened to me. I was 20 minutes inside a lift, and that was really scary. Yeah.
Okay, fair enough.
That's the end of the story.
Yes, indeed, that was... Yeah. Thank you for that fascinating insight. If you want to get in touch with us this morning, these are numbers.
To contact TRE, please call 952 78 4000. Email studio@tre.radio. Send us a WhatsApp on +34 645 99 67 95. Message us on Facebook, Talk Radio Europe Official, or tweet us at TRE Talk Radio.
Right then, so one of the major stories this week from the two breaking out, two prongs to this one, if you like. One has been the trial that started this week in Australia about the Bondi Beach attacks, the extremist attacks that occurred last year on Bondi last year. Thank you, but also British Prime Minister Sir Keir Starmer convening leaders from across society today to tackle anti-Semitism in the wake of the stabbing of 2 Jewish men and a string of other assaults. The attacks have left communities fearing for their safety and piled pressure on the governing Labour Party, particularly ahead of local elections happening on May the 7th. The leader opposition Conservative Party has called anti-Semitism a national emergency. The government has raised the national terrorist threat to severe and announced an additional £25 million in funding to bolster protection of the country's estimated 290,000 strong Jewish community. Starmer, whose wife is Jewish, said in a statement on Monday that last week's stabbings were part of a pattern of rising anti-Semitism that's left the country's Jewish communities feeling frightened and angry. Make no mistake, this crisis, it's a crisis for all of us, it's a test of our values. It's not enough to simply say we stand with Jewish communities. We must show it. So that is the latest. I'll talk again of marches and the community saying they're feeling frightened and vulnerable. We've had the attacks on the ambulances. We had the fatal attacks in Manchester, of course. And this seems to be, this seems to be a almost part and parcel of life in the UK. Not so much in Spain, obviously, because there are much more Jewish communities here in Spain. But do we because of the situation that we're and the geopolitical situation that we're in at the moment, do you think this is just giving people an excuse, a despicable excuse to carry out these attacks, panel?
There's so many points here to analyse. There are quite you've got on one side you've got the marches, which was one of the things that the Prime Minister said he would look into to see whether they should be banned or they should be doing something about the marches and how the police should act, depending on what kind of messages were there coming out of these marches. To be honest with you, banning a march, I don't like marches. I wouldn't attend to one in a million years. I think that are just ridiculous just to gather people and just go for a cause, because that's not representative of what the general public thinks. It's just a group of people trying to, sort of make a point. That's fine. I don't want to ban
on Facebook.
I don't want to ban them, but I don't think the marches are the cause root of the attacks. I think social media has been giving an element of anonymity to those people who want to spread hatred, not only in this particular subject, but many other subjects.
As the saying goes, there's nothing social about social media, as Richard will no doubt tell me in any second.
Yes. I personally think, this is what I'm going to say is going to be controversial. I think the anti-Semitism has been in the closet for a long time, and now a lot of people with anti-Semitic feelings are coming out. They're coming out. I mean, I've seen it and lived it in many years ago in the UK, and I knew that subjacent feeling was there, and now it seems that it's become almost cool to be anti-Semitic, that you are on the right side of history by being anti-Semitic because of the problems in the Middle East. And the first thing that we have to make sure that people understand that you have to separate Israel and Netanyahu from the Jewish community in London. Okay, they share a religion and they set certain values.
It's like saying, because you're a Christian, therefore you support you.
Yeah, it's Trump. Like to just try and be against the Christians in the Catholics in Spain and just go and go to Dublin and start persecuting Catholics in Dublin. Got nothing to do with the Catholics in Seville. So that's a very loose way of explaining that. So there are two different things. Also, to say. That even in Israel there are people who don't agree with the current government there, and there is people who disagree with that, and they openly say, we don't like the policies that our government are following. So it's an open society, it's a democratic society where you can, people have different opinions, but to demonize Judaism, it's a mistake that is being repeated in history for hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of years. And I really thought at a point after the Second World War that had finished, but obviously hadn't. There's been an underlying anti-Semitism for a lot of people, and all this happened in the Middle East has given a outlet to this anti-Semitism to come out and be less criticised than it would be before. 952 encouraged, I would say. 952
78 4000. Morning caller, you're live on the line. What's your name? Where are you calling from? What's your viewpoint, please?
Is this a secret call?
Good morning. Good morning, Alf. How are you?
Good morning. Morning, Andrea.
Good morning.
Good morning.
We got AAA on we got Alf on the phone, we got Andrea, and we got Alia on the thing. Yeah.
Anyway, all three A's. Yeah.
All three A's. Yeah. AAA. Right.
That's a special organisation, isn't it?
Yeah, indeed. What's your viewpoint, Alf?
It is now. So, with the banning of the marches, and seriously, Andreas, I understand people who don't want to go on marches or think they're a waste of time, but I go back to the 80s when Thatcher was attacking education, hospitals, everything. We had the biggest march ever for the nurses. They said it was for the nurses, but it wasn't. It was for the health workers. Yeah, massive demonstrations against what the government's trying to do. They're not a waste of time for the people who are participating, because it's their way of expressing their opposition without waiting for an election, or more importantly, creating violence. And the problem we've got with the Palestinian marches, or the I don't know what they call it, anti-war marches for Palestine. Yeah. The problem with that is not the march themselves, not the organisers of the march, but it's the way that the police have to, and I say have to because it's their job, police the march.
Right.
And I don't know, if you've never been on one, Andreas, I've been on lots of marches, obviously from my background. What you face is you either face a bunch of police who walk along the road, in front of you, beside you, behind you, whatever, and they just keep themselves to themselves. If something untoward goes on, which is I've never seen, not on any of the ones I've been on, because they're well organised by the TUC or by a union.
Uh-huh.
So that's not the issue. It's just when occasionally you then end up, and if people go back far enough, do you remember when there was the big demonstration? I think it was in Trafalgar Square, but it was a march, and they decided, some part of that decided to attack the American embassy.
Oh, that's Grosvenor Square, 1968.
Absolutely, huge, great, massive kick up from that. And what you saw from it is it appeared to be the heavy hand of the police. Rather than policing and organising and stopping and moving them on, they start to attack them.
Yeah, but I was going to say, you could also argue, I mean, perhaps a little more recent, that poll tax riots that happened, and that was started off in Trafalgar Square and just, kicked off into the West End. And
yes,
is that not...
But again, the point I'm trying to make is, it's not the marches, it's not the organisers of the marches, it's not participants per se for the march.
Yeah.
It's the people who infiltrate the marches who then decide. It's a bit like going to a football match. You can be in one part. Listen, I was a North Bank boy at West Ham. I know what trouble in a ground is and how it starts.
Yeah.
And it starts from 2 or 3 or 4 people deciding that they're not interested in the football, they just want to have a punch-up somewhere. And that creates a way. I got thrown out of West Ham for doing nothing.
Can I just mention one of the things that gets me here is, I mean, if you look at even more recently, that the big huge march we had in London, was it last year before? With Tommy Robinson. It was this year. Was it?
They had one this year with Tommy Robinson.
Yeah, but the really big one, the really big one last year, and then we cut to, they were heading towards the Cenotaph, etc. With a march that big, there are so many desperate or disparate even elements to it that, as a steward on a march, you can't contain. And if people want, people can go to the Chelsea Flower Show and have a tear if they wanted to.
And I've done that as well. The stewards on the march aren't there to control the march. The stewards on the march are there to just say things to people. If someone's being abusive, you're walking along the road. There's a bunch of people on the pavement who decide that they're not for the nurses, so they decide to abuse the marchers by shouting things at them. So they start shouting back. That's not violence in its own right. They're not threatening to kill anybody or whatever. And the job of the person, the steward, walking along the side, is just to calm the people in the march down and say, don't worry about them, silly people on the side, just ignore them. That's all they're there for. Remember, the police have much more powers than some steward doing whatever. Stewards are there to manipulate and sort of control. They're not there to say, you mustn't do that and you can't do that, and by the way, get out of here. Let's get Peter on about what doormen do. It's slightly different. They're there to do a different type of job. So you can't compare the stewards, and you're right. If it's a huge march, and you've got... So when they did the nurses' march, I forget how many there were. There was about 5,000 stewards.
Right, but
But they weren't there to control anything. They were there to make sure everybody marched, i.e., you get a crowd of people, it's a fairly warm day, you're walking through the middle of London, there happens to be a few pubs.
Yes.
So people decide to drop off and have a drink, and then when they come back, they haven't had a drink, they've had too much to drink, and they come back and decide to be rowdy, and so stewards are there to sort of tell them people, go away.
Yeah.
But they can't do anything. But on these marches, the police are there.
Yeah.
There's a law that says you mustn't say these things, but the police, there aren't enough of them to go into those.
And also, listen, the thing is, Alf, the law says you can't say these things. So you've got, imagine a situation, you've got an anti-Gaza war march going through the middle of London, right? And they're saying, and a lot of people are saying, from the river to the sea, etc., etc., etc. A lot of them not knowing. Because it sounds like it scans quite nicely.
I don't even know what they're saying often.
Well, exactly, but it's extremely offensive to another party. And if you are standing on the pavement and you're going through an area that has a Jewish population, there's going to be confrontation. People are going to shout words at each other. You can't go into and dress.
I think Alf is missing the point here. I mean, he's explaining the mechanics, how the demonstrations work and how the police act and the stewards and everything else. The point here that we're trying to make is whether these demonstrations, the pro-Palestinian demonstrations in London, are encouraging people to be violent against the Jewish community. Okay, this is what we are, and how the government should act upon these demonstrations, whether they are legitimate or they're non-legitimate.
No, Andreas, the answer to that is no. The organisers of these marches are not into violence in any shape, form or whatever. It's not those people. It's the people that the hangers-on. I tell you what, you don't go to a march without seeing 5,000 placards saying Socialist Workers' Party.
Yep.
You know, it just doesn't happen. But most people just ignore it and say, "Oh, I've got a placard, I can hold it up in the air."
Yeah.
But to some people, that's offensive.
Yeah. Got some more calls. Got some more calls coming in, Alf. Can I just take
one more thing?
Just quickly, then. Yeah, please.
Trying to separate the issue of Israel from the Jewish community anywhere in the world. And I couldn't believe when a guy said there's 250,000 Jewish people in the UK.
Yep.
It's like, well, they must have all lived near me then, because I lived in...
Oh.
It's just unbelievable.
Alf, got to go because I've got some more calls coming in. Morning, caller, you're live on TRE. What's your name? Where are you calling from? What's your viewpoint, please?
Giles, it's Peter.
Morning, Peter.
Morning. Trying to time it right because you normally go to break about now. But Andreas seems to flip-flop a bit. I thought it was when the ICE agents in America and Minnesota, he was very pro-protesting, even to the point that he thought it wasn't wrong for him to carry a gun to a protest. So you flipped on that one, Andreas. Secondly, I'm glad you...
What are you talking about?
Hang on. I'm glad Alf used a football analogy, because if you were to give the best tickets to a Southampton-Portsmouth match to the Portsmouth supporters at Southampton's ground, I'd expect some trouble. And I expect Alf would think the same with Millwall and West Ham, which could be happening next year. So why would you allow unfettered immigration of millions of people that come from countries that despise Jews, absolutely despise them, and then bend over backwards for their culture and not expect them to assimilate into our culture, and then they continue what they practice, which is Jew-hating, in their own country. So maybe that's why the hatred of Jews has gone up in the last few years, because we're importing people that hate Jews.
Do you think that with the British government is as you put it, bending over backwards to have people in the country who quote unquote hate Jews? Do you think that's kind of policy, Peter?
Well, exactly. I could go on for a million years. They're imperialists, aren't they? This is what it's all about. It's the globalist against the non-globalist. And the very fact that these imperialists all around Europe, we just watched one go off to America, the very fact that they like all this infighting all the time, so they could sit on their thrones and govern and see all these countries at war with each other, and then someone comes along and says, no more long-term wars, suddenly he's the world's worst enemy. And that's what we're getting. We're getting this millions of people moving around the world with an absolute hatred of Jews. And that's not me just saying, you all know that. It's accepted that they do. Pakistan, apparently 99% of people hate Jews. Now, many of these countries hate Jews. You just said from the river to the sea, all this, they hate Jews. And yet we've been systematically bringing in people into Europe and more specifically into the UK that hate Jews, and then expect that it's not going to happen. There's not going to be any of these problems. Why would you do that?
Yeah. Okay, Peter. Thank you very much. Thank you very much for calling, mate. Good to have you. Good to have you with us as always. 952-78-4000 is the phone number. Studio@tre.radio is the email. The Facebook page is Talk Radio Europe Official. We're going to take a quick break and then we're going to come back with some more Viewpoint.
Viewpoint with Giles Brown.
Always live, always lively with you for the next, we'll call that an hour and 30, we'll call it an hour and 15 minutes. Should you wish to get your viewpoint across, it can be something national, international or local, then these are the numbers.
To contact TRE, please call 952 78 4000. Email studio@tre.radio. Send us a WhatsApp on +34 645 99 67 95. Message us on Facebook, Talk Radio Europe Official, or tweet us at TRE Talk Radio.
Back to the WhatsApps we go. Anti-Semitism will never ever be eradicated as long as Israel continues their antics, which is staggering given what happened to them in World War II. It's rather curious that Met chose to stop arresting the Palestine Action to then start re-arresting them last week on Orders Number 10. Labelling 80-year-old grannies as terrorists is both ridiculous and frankly stupid. No one has the right not to be offended, Giles. Too much faux sensitivity here, which would be a great name for an 80s new romantic revival band. Peter Peter seems to think Harris is one way. Some Jews hate Arabs. Ridiculous. Meanwhile, the world is smart. Good morning. Oh, I see. Yeah, I just realised that what I was sent the other day was a croissant. It was a Jabba the Hutt croissant. Thank you. The world is smaller. Sorry, you can't see this on radio, but that's a Jabba the Hutt croissant that I was sent yesterday for yes. I know. So, as I was saying, the world is smaller today. The world is smaller today due to with internet and migration. The problem needs to be solved at the root cause in Gaza. If we believe fiddling with people's freedom to march there lies. If we believe that fiddling with people's freedom to march there lies the road to hell, I suppose, because it is the way of protesting. I've been on marches. And it is the way, rather than people say can't you just put social media likes or whatever. It's an outpouring of what you've
dissatisfaction.
Exactly. You're making a point. Morning, caller, you're live on TRE. What's your name? Where are you calling from? What's your viewpoint, please?
Yes, morning, Giles. It's Gary here.
Morning, Gary. How are you, sir?
How are you? All right. Morning, panel.
Good morning.
Is it me being a bit naive? But excuse me. But what Peter, I agree with most of what he said. But when you do import or allow these people to come into the country, and they hate the state of Israel, Jewish people. What was that?
No, it's just when people import, Gary. I'm just a bit, people. It's like, it's not like the, sorry. That was just, I've had 3 hours sleep, mate. Sorry about that.
Importing bananas.
Well, whatever, allowing illegal people in.
Right.
And I'm not going to argue the illegalities of it.
Right.
But that's what's basically happened, Giles, and that these people that's not far-sighted, if you allow these people, am I using the wrong words here? Because you have to excuse me, I'm old school. I don't mean to be offensive, but obviously you're taking offence to something which I'm not intended to be offensive about.
No,
it's
sorry,
just the way I talk.
I apologise.
I apologise,
Gary.
Right, I was going to say that's your issue. That's not mine. Well, anyway, if you allow these people in illegally and in the numbers they come in, and when you on one side, and I'm in the middle here, I am in the middle here, when you allow these people in on one side, and then you see what Israel is doing in the Middle East, do we not expect anything else? Do we not actually expect anything else? It's, to me, a person is extremely naive if you didn't think this was going to happen. And I'm surprised you came out with figures for the Jewish population in England. I find that very, very low. I would like, obviously Stephen Ritson would be listening as per normal, and he comes out with the figures, but I find that very, very low. And secondly, to get away from that, because obviously my views are contrary to whatever. Secondly, I have nothing but respect and utmost pity for the police, for the meat in the sandwich. A friend of mine, now this will test your memories and the listeners. Do you remember the poll tax riots? Do you remember the police? Do you remember the police car that went into amongst the crowd, or happened to be amongst the crowd, and had the large pole javelin thrown in at screen?
Blimey, that is a good memory. I remember that one. Yeah, back then. Yes, I do indeed.
Well,
1989, Gary, I think it was.
Yeah, that was my mate Dean. That was my mate Dean, and he was never ever the same person after that. But what you don't see is when you see all these lovely protest marches, etc., and all these peaceful marches, as Alf said, it's the same. It's only a minority. It's only a minority that ever does it. But what you didn't see in that one was when these. I've got to be careful how I say this now. I won't swear. I promise I won't swear. But what you don't see is these manhole covers being pulled up, and then bits of cardboard put over the top of the manholes for the police horses to fall down. Okay. That's what you don't see, and you don't see the policing side of it. I've got nothing but great pity for that. Right. But as I say, with due respect to you, Giles, personally, what you just said then, as says a million other words. What the way the people that's going for DEI, they're the ones that's causing all the problem. I see everyone as just a person. I don't see colour, I don't see gender, I don't see nothing. Consequently, that's why I take the mickey out of everyone, absolutely everyone. And that's other people's issues to take offence to that. That's other people's issues. So that's my bit.
Thank you very much, Gaz. Always, Gary, good to hear from you, my friend. Take care. 952784000 is the phone number. Good morning, Giles. Your caller who states that all Muslims hate Jews is talking absolute drivel. I have a good Jewish friend in London who married a Muslim. His analogy is the same as saying that all Protestants in Northern Ireland hate Catholics. Only the extreme radicalised elements fit his description. At least I think we're all sort of nodding away with that.
We can only agree with that last statement, Giles. I think that we veered off the point is whether these marches are damaging and encouraging violence, or they should continue to carry on, because I personally think the real damage of hatred and encouraging violence come from social media and people who, they become more radical through the social media than through a march. Having said that, freedom has to stop when you interfere with the freedom of your neighbor. So if you are in a march saying things that they are offensive to someone else, that shouldn't happen. I mean, you go and make your point and sort of support the victims in a war conflict. That is absolutely fine. Yeah. But you cannot go and insult or wish death to a community. I mean, you cannot, that's where your freedom has to stop, because you're interfering with the freedom of your neighbour.
Andres, yes, I agree, absolutely. This is a very broad spectrum of where tolerance starts and fanaticism starts and ends and so on and so forth. Unfortunately, in any of these things, you always have a radical part of the populace who will go after people simply, also sometimes because they're like sheep. They follow somebody who bleats the loudest. They don't sit and think, why is this happening?
That's mob mentality. We know.
Yes.
Well, and also the media gives them an outlet.
Absolutely,
and that's why they do it. They said, if you go there and cause a big scene, it's going to be reported. We're going to be in every media outlet. Our cause gets more,
It's fanning the flames of hatred.
Yes.
Simple as that. And unfortunately today, as you said quite rightly, with social media, it's instant. It's not like before where you had...
And it's difficult for the government to sort of make a decision here, because they have to balance, to respect the freedom of others and to respect the freedom of demonstration, the freedom of,
the balance.
And just to keep the balance. That is very difficult, because if you ban them, I think that's the wrong route. You can't ban, that kind of demonstration. But on the other hand, if you don't control what is being done and said in those demonstrations, you're not fulfilling to keep the freedom of the people who don't take part in them.
It's
very difficult. I don't wish.
And for somebody like Keir Starmer to say, right, as I said before, he's got a difficult tightrope to walk here, especially in a week we've got local elections coming up on Thursday. But because you say you can't have a demonstration where it offends people. I mean, that's the line between offensive and hate speech. Now, because, as the saying goes, sticks and stones may break my bones, but words will never hate. I mean, how do you, if I say to you, Andres, bleeding well, drop dead tomorrow, and you do, or if I say, fornicate off. Do you see from whence I'm coming?
You could even have to accept that someone may be offensive to you. I mean, we are just participating in this program.
We're used to that, Andres.
You've been reading my Tinder profile again, haven't you? It's offensive to everybody.
Yeah, I mean, you're gonna.
Yes.
Yeah, yes.
Sorry, yes, indeed.
The other thing is when you're encouraging a behavior that is not peaceful.
Yeah.
And some of the things that they are chanted in those marches are encouraging violence. That's where it has to stop. To be offensive, I mean,
you're always going to offend somebody.
Of course.
Always.
Of
it
course.
doesn't matter what you do. You will always
Of course.
offend
Anything is offensive now. But one thing is to be offensive when you have to have enough skin or the thickness of your skin should be able to keep it. And the other thing is encouraging violence, encouraging people to go out there and commit violent crimes, and that's where it has to be stopped. But not only on the marches, which is very difficult because of the policing and the logistics of all of it, but that has to be stopped in social media, which is, to me, is where the real problem brews.
But then you got that's the right to free speech. Talking about free speech,
what are you doing with your polls? Have you got a poll?
I haven't got a poll at the moment.
No.
Or any.
We are pollless.
We are pollless.
We'll have to get a poll for Giles.
I'll get a poll. If anybody'd like to send me a poll, I'd be most... Moving swiftly onwards. Good morning, Giles and panel. For centuries, Jewish communities have been living and thriving in Muslim countries as opposed to Christian ones. And still today, for example... Israel bombed a century-old synagogue in Tehran. The Jewish representative in the Iranian parliament came out criticising Israel very strongly. Here's something. Okay, this is your fact for the day, okay? The largest marmalade factory in Morocco is owned by Moroccan Jews. So if that's something you take from today's show...
There's a thriving community in Morocco of Jewish people.
We are being brainwashed by Zionists that being anti-Zionism is the same as being anti-Semitic. It is far from it. I have Jewish friends who march in protest against Israel. Thank you for letting me know. Thank you for letting me know about the largest marmalade factory in Morocco.
There is coming back to fact of talking about the Jewish community, not fanatics.
Yeah.
In Israel, there are huge uprisings from, shall I say, in quotes, the normal Jew who is absolutely against what is happening in Lebanon, Gaza, Yemen, and so on and so forth, from the IDF.
Yeah.
Huge uprisings. We don't hear about that, though.
Because, I mean, and that is...
And there is criticism within, I mean, that last message said it, there's criticism, people inside Israel. There is a well-known journalist, Gideon Levy, in Israel, who's very, very openly critical of the Netanyahu government and some of the things they do and everything else. And he is an Israeli journalist living in Jerusalem. So it's not all, that doesn't happen. That doesn't happen in Iran, for instance. You cannot be critical of the government there because your fate could be sealed. So there's a big difference that we have to take into account. But, as I said, the main point here is that the crime should be the encouragement of violence, like it would be in any group of people who encourage violence. It doesn't necessarily have to be against Jews. It can be against anyone else, and that's where the law and those who protect the people should take action.
And here's the thing. I mean, this is a point just brought up. We had the deaths in Leipzig yesterday as well. 2 people. This seems to be a mental health issue here. And what's up here saying it was a mentally unstable man who attacked the two Jewish victims, and he'd also attacked a Muslim man early in the day. The fact is rarely mentioned. Nothing to do with anti-Semitism. Many Jews on the marches. How many times do I have to explain this to you? Anti-Zionism isn't the same as anti-Semitism. Thank you very much for that. Right, coming to the end of the first half of this morning's Viewpoint, coming back with a poll in the second half, as well as if you want to get your view across, it can be local, national, international. Well, these are the numbers. Let's just check out the numbers so you can get in contact with us here on Viewpoint.
To contact TRE, please.
This one, in fact.
To contact TRE, please call 952 78 4000. Email studio@tre.radio. Send us a WhatsApp on +34 645 99 67 95. Message us on Facebook, Talk Radio Europe Official, or tweet us at TRE Talk Radio.
Right, I'm going to come to the end of this first half of Viewpoint and then back in the second half. But we're going to go to London next for the international news, and also bring you the latest Spanish news on here on TRE Talk Radio Europe, your voice in Spain. Back after the news.
Talk Radio Europe.
Your voice in Spain.
Discuss, challenge, inform, comment, Viewpoint on Talk Radio Europe.
Giles Brown.
Live comment and discussion with studio guests. Viewpoint.
Always live, always lively. Giles Brown, live from the studios of TRE Talk Radio, your voice in Spain. With you for the next 52 minutes or so. Joined in the studio by Angeles Gallardo and Alia Babapuli. If you wish to get your viewpoint across, it can be something local, national or international, then these are indeed the numbers.
To contact TRE, please call 952 78 4000. Email studio@tre.radio. Send us a WhatsApp on +34 645 99 67 95. Message us on Facebook, Talk Radio Europe Official, or tweet us at TRE Talk Radio.
Just looking at some of the bits. Thank you, Sam, who said heat level 2. And Gary thinks I'm sounding very tired. You don't know the half of it. 952 78 4000 is the phone number if you want to get involved with this morning's Viewpoint. It is to the, just checking the studio at TRE as well. Sorry, I've just eaten something very, very, which didn't taste how I thought it would be. I haven't been able to put a poll up. Sorry about this. I'm lagging on my polls this morning. So you can. Oh, and thankfully it's to the lines we go. Morning caller, we're live on TRE. What's your name? Where are you calling from? What's your viewpoint, please? Morning caller, you're live on TRE. What's your name? Where are you calling from? What's your viewpoint, please?
Hi, Giles. It's Alf again. I just wanted to come back a bit to where we started, because I never really had a chance really to put my point over about when Andreas said trying to sort Israel out of the Jewish population wherever in the world, just happens to be at the moment in North London. It's never going to happen. It never has happened. It's gone on for centuries. The difference has been up to now is because Britain is much more amenable to dealing with minority groups and giving them some peace and all the rest of it. You know, that's why it works in the UK, or has worked up to now. And what we're seeing, I think Peter might be a little bit right, it's the uncontrolled allowance of people into the country. It's not about illegal immigrants. It's not about bringing in, you know, the nutcases and all that. But we don't do enough to vet the people coming in. So we end up with a pile of people who technically hate the Jews and want to kill them. And that's not the tolerance that the UK is based on. I worked in the German election in Hendon in 2005. Hendon is one of those massive Jewish communities, and I mean massive Jewish communities. And even though it's a massive Jewish community, the candidate, a guy called Andrew Dismore, for people who know, he was the MP, he never went out on his own, on any doors, never on his own. Nobody went out leafleting in singles or even in pairs. Nobody went to... It's not that there were no-go areas. All those years ago, I'm talking 2005, and it had been going on for, I don't know, 10 years before that. So there's always been this anti-Jewish thing going on. It's just that the tolerance of the I think it's the tolerance of the British that's allowed it. And what you have with these marches, it isn't the fear that they're going to start to attack other Jewish people. That will happen irrespective of the marches. That's what's going on. What we have to take into account is the fear that it puts into the population who feel threatened by the march. There's a big conversation going on about that. So banning the marches in their own right, I think is wrong. Personally, I think is wrong. But policing the marches is what's also wrong. The marches, and I think Gary said it, and others have said it. If you don't deal with the hatred noises coming out of these fringe areas of these marches, you will always, and that's what's provoking people to maybe be more violent. But believe me, Andreas, you don't have to go near a march to find out hatred for minorities, whether they be Jewish, whether they be Asians, whether they be, I won't even call them Asians, because in where I come from, the guy with a turban on was more of a pick-on than a normal Asian guy. It's the way of life, but I still come back to what we've lost, I think, as a society, is that tolerance level of other people understanding where others are coming from. And I tell you what, if you police a march and there's a bit of a scuffle going on or whatever, and the police send police into the march, like Gary was talking about with the police car in the protest riots, that happens on any march. If you send the police in, it will provoke more violence, because it does. It just does that.
Yeah, but the problem, if you don't send the police in, obviously, then because they have to, as we've seen, people. If people are saying are promoting hate speech, then you will have the Daily Mail Express going, why are these people allowed to shout such things as offensive things? Why are police doing more about it? You see what I mean? It's a no-win situation for our police.
Absolutely correct. But this is about the tolerance. The problem we have is that the marches themselves, the people who organise the marches and the people who get involved in the marches, I don't believe are violent people. They can't deal with the infiltrators who want to be violent. They can't deal with the people who are shouting. And if you listen carefully to what's being said most of the time, it's about the marchers taking on the people shouting out these hate slogans. It's not about the police dealing with them. It's not about anybody. It's not about the people operating the march and organising the march. It's about the people actually participating.
Yeah.
So, and you go, really? So how many of these riots do you want? So you then come to, well,
got some more calls coming in after. Yeah,
all right, but it's easier to just ban the marches, but that's not a solution.
Exactly.
Because easy isn't easy.
Exactly. Thanks very much. I'll talk to you later, Alf. Thanks for calling. Morning, caller. You're live on TRE. What's your name? Where are you calling from? What's your viewpoint, please?
Giles, Peter again.
Hello, Peter.
Right. I didn't mean to cut over, but I can't hear and make the phone call at the same time, so I don't know to on or off. So, that said, protesting, right?
Yeah.
As someone who's never been on a protest in my life,
haven't you?
And I know, no. Why would I want to protest? Because I have better ways to protest.
It's a democratic right, Peter. I mean, that's
exactly,
yes.
And I agree with that. I agree with it. 100%.
Yeah.
And as I said to somebody the other day, I am culturally, cool, that's easy for me to say, British.
Yes.
And he asked me to explain what that was, and I said that the fact that we have a dark sense of humour, the fact that we laugh at death, the fact that we are quite comedic, the fact that we can jump up and protest, peaceful protest, that's supposed to be. So I'm proud of being British. But when people say to me, and it's been said on this show many, many times, you should vote, I've always said, we're never going to vote for someone that I'm not happy to vote for, or if the candidates are not what I want. That's why I rarely ever vote. But having said that, I believe the best form of protest, and as I've said before, is to not protest, to turn it off. Now, if you have a large entity that is doing wrong and many people are upset about it, instead of going out on the streets and ramping and raging and then turning the public against you because of what you're doing, you should just stop using that product or stop going to that entity. Or that's the way. And if you go back in history, and I was talking about this to someone the other day, how it's flipped. Back in the day, during apartheid, nobody wanted to go to South Africa. Everybody was encouraged not to go to South Africa. All the sports people ended up not going to South Africa, or that was the maybe part of the straw that broke the camel's back.
Peter. Yeah.
But just quickly, so the best form of protest is not go. So when people say, when you have a regime like Iran, and then people say, I've been there 16 times, and then say that they don't like women being oppressed, I find that absolutely ridiculous. So I don't see why, if you want to protest against something, turn the big red button. Don't watch Louis Theroux for an hour and then turn around and say you didn't like it.
Thanks. All right.
You know, as Mary Whitehouse was told, hit the red button.
Right,
quite simple.
Thanks very much, Peter, for calling. Morning, calling live on TRE. What's your name? Thank you for holding. What's your name? Where are you calling from? What's your viewpoint, please?
Yeah, Giles, it's Gary again. Just quickly, someone said about voting. I lambasted, and very rarely do I use that word, lambasted my son the other day because he said he's 31 years old and he said he's going to spoil his vote. And I said, that's disgusting. Personally, I find that disgusting. He said, well, I don't really... I said, whatever, you know. But off a tangent, right, did Alf use the word our people? Because I don't know what you meant by our people, but if you're talking about two-tier, there's a classic example of what upsets the indigenous people of whatever colour in the UK is these two, should we call them gentlemen, the Manchester airport situation. If they were white, they would have been dealt with by now. They would have been dealt with. Anyone that says they wouldn't have been dealt with by now is an absolute idiot. Simple as that. But there you go. Ta-da.
Thank you, Gary. 952 78 4000 is the phone number. Studio@TRE.radio is the email. The Facebook page is Talk Radio Europe Official. I just want to go to some of the comments that are coming. I haven't checked the Facebook page. I still haven't got my poll.
Because you haven't got your poll.
I haven't got my poll. I know.
There you go.
Oh, you have to. We're going to have to. Unfortunately, the poll will be back next week from Krakow. Probably.
Great news.
Great news. Where was I? So, looking at some of the bits and pieces coming in on this morning's on the socials, etc. Here we go. The fact is that the didn't have a chance. Some parts of Stanford. Excuse me, ladies and gentlemen. That'll be the what's it virus. Spoiling one's vote. I haven't even been on a cruise. Spoiling one's vote is fine. Not voting at all is another. Always vote, and always vote for the least worst. We got somebody saying here. Also, this one. I thank you very much for that indeed. Yes, if you want to get involved. Palom, you've got anything to say with what we've just heard, which I can repeat? I'll go to a quick break then and back with more Viewpoint.
Viewpoint with
Giles Brown.
To contact TRE, please call 952 78 4000. Email studio@tre.radio. Send us a WhatsApp on +34 645 99 67 95. Message us on Facebook, Talk Radio Europe Official, or tweet us at TRE Talk Radio.
If you're wondering what's happening after this show, Stephen Ritson will be with us with Europe Today. I'm sure he'll have a take on the world, which is peculiar and indeed provocative as well. Selena is away today, so we're going to be doing a best of the lifestyle show between 2 and 4. But Hannah is very much live and lively, and she'll be talking to, in her show today, she's going to be talking to Susan George. Oh. Yes, indeed. I thought you might say that. The lovely. Oh. You have to see, it's like when you say Joanna Lumley. Oh, it's like, well, we're talking to the lovely.
Going back a while.
Going back a while, indeed.
Going back a while.
Indeed. So she's talking to Susan George, who is now not only an actress, but she's also a campaigner. She will also be talking about one of the great people from Be Spain Savvy, which is quite a brilliant website as well. That's all coming up with her. Dave is away. Sorry, that's me saying something there. I'm the voices in my head, sorry. Hello, mate. They're coming through loud and clear today. Yeah, it's finally happening. Just to let you know, though, Dave is away tomorrow, so Anna is covering for him in Daybreak, and then Anna is covering for Dave who's away, but then Anna is away on Thursday, so I'm standing in for them as well. What could possibly go wrong? So that's all coming up.
What a team, huh?
What a team!
What a team! Yes,
what a future. you get less
If
far.
it's going like today, it's going to be fun.
It's always fun here on TRE. What could possibly go wrong? You get less fun, probably. 952 78 4000 is the phone number. Studio at TRE.radio is the email. With you until 12 o'clock. You were just going to say, you were talking about Iran trolling Trump with these little Lego AI things.
They are so brilliant.
Again, we seem to have hit this. We sort of hit once again. We've hit this sort of impasse, haven't we? It's almost like a phony war again with Straits of Hormuz. And 1 minute that's going to happen, then it's not going to happen. Then you've obliterated, then you haven't obliterated, and in the meantime, we are seeing. We're coming up for summer. Summer is literally around the corner here. We are in May. Are we going to see this knock-on effect? Not only people are saying, "Oh well, we're going to have a very busy summer here in Spain," because people who would normally go to Dubai and Abu Dhabi will be coming here, etc. That's an attractive look, Andres. And
we discussed that last week. I don't think the problem will be so much in the luxury market in Spain. I think the middle market is the one who may suffer, but not because of the war, or yes, because of the war indirectly, because of the inflation and the thing that everything is more expensive, travel is more expensive, hotels are going to be more expensive, and everything else. And I think on that section of the market, Spain could be affected. If you go to the luxury market, I
was looking the other day, in fact yesterday, for flights to go to the UK. Yeah. And I thought to myself, I am not mortgaging whatever I have to mortgage just to fly over for a week. In fact, on those prices, I could probably go to Thailand or Vietnam and have a lovely holiday over there for the same amount of money that I would spend toing and froing from Gatwick. There you are.
I think we'll see, and that's my own prediction. I don't know if I'm going to be right on this one or not, but I think what we will see in the middle market is shortening the length of time of people's holidays. Yeah, definitely. I think that is the easiest way. They're not going to. People are so used to having a holiday. They look forward to a holiday so much during the whole year. They're not going to say, "No, I'm not going on holiday," or "I'm going to Scarborough for a holiday." They'll still come to Europe and they'll come to the Med, but maybe not for so long. They'll just shorten the holidays, so they'll spend the same amount of money in less time. I think that will be, but we'll see in the summer. But we had a record 96 million visitors in Spain last year.
I know.
I don't, and the talk was they were going to hit 100 million this year, but I don't think we will.
Apropos, oh really?
I don't have a crystal ball, so I'm just guessing that inflation is going to affect a lot of people, and a lot of families won't be able to, maybe we won't see it in Marbella or in Ibiza, but we might see it in Fuengirola or Benidorm, that kind of market.
Both wonderful locations.
They're wonderful, absolutely delightful location, and I love them all, and they're great.
How you can't go on a cruise ship, and now you can't go further east than Calahonda.
It's a different type of market. That's what I'm trying to say. The super luxury market is not going to be affected by the price of anything because they are millionaires. But normal families who take their holidays in places where they can afford it, they are the ones who maybe those destinations will be more affected. I think. And Fuengirola is a wonderful place.
You're right, Kate, you heard it here first. The new golden rectangle. La Cala, Coin, Arena Grande, down to La Fuengirola. I give you.
Ta-da!
See, and anybody who's not on the Costa del Sol will be shaking their heads going, what is he on about this time? 3 hours sleep and too much coffee. 952 78 I'm talking about Spain, though. Very interesting. Will you stop making it? So you seem to be gurning at me, Andres.
Yes.
Sorry. This is why we don't have a webcam. Ali looks gorgeous as ever, and I'm just sitting here, and we're both making silly faces at each other. Spain had the presidency. The Council of Ministers. They had a progress report to the European Commission, and I found this very interesting because Carlos Cuerpo made a presentation, and he argued that the Spanish economy was better prepared because of energy, economic and budgetary spheres. He said the following, we are the third country where, because electricity prices Right, let me get this right. Since the beginning of the conflict in Iran, wholesale electricity prices have risen less than in other countries. We are the third country where these prices have risen the least, on a par with Finland and close behind Sweden. It's international companies want to continue investing in our country because there was a big Invest in Spain conference. Yeah, in the early week, Labour thought Spanish growth was more than double the Eurozone average, and Spain created 40% of the jobs in the Eurozone, despite accounting for just 10% of the single currency's total economic output. So it says that they have said Spain is managing to incorporate more people effectively into an increasingly dynamic labour market and higher value-added sectors. There was a point I wanted to bring off here. I saw where are we? Because there was a lot of talk about bringing in DUI, bringing diversity into the workplace, safety in the workplace. Women employees will now have the same rights, same cover as male workers if they work in the construction industry, for example. The one I'm looking for, though, is here, and it said this is the reform of occupational health and risk prevention. But what the other thing it said I was looking for was the following, which was Spain has reached an historic milestone because it's the first time we have exceeded 25 million people in the labour force of a country of over 50 million people. There are challenges. We cannot deny that Spain has managed to create more jobs and, moreover, better quality jobs. Spain is establishing itself as a true international hub with more than 22,000 foreign companies already operating in Spain and generating more than 2 million jobs. Agree with that or disagree?
In part, I agree with some of it. The figures that you've got there of 25 million, I think that's a target. It's currently on 22 million, so it's still a long way to go. Yeah. Let me just give you a bit of background. Carlos Cuerpo is the new finance minister. He's replaced...
What happened to the old one, then?
The old one, she is the lady who is taken on in the Andalusian elections, the current president, which is Juanma Moreno. And she has stepped down from government to come and fight the election to Juanma Moreno.
Thing.
Right.
That's because I was wondering about this because I saw that because obviously living up in the campo as I do, and I thought this was somebody from because the background was green for that woman in the unless I'm actually looking at a green candidate, but I think the actual
some of the new marketing for the election have taken the green colour as a message to say we are the sustainable kind of policies. Yeah, I mean that's pure marketing, so that's nothing. Yes. So this Carlos Cuerpo, he's promoting investment in Spain as his job. Part of his job is to sort of encourage employment in Spain. The figures of employment I was looking at last quarter were terrible. We destroyed 170,000 employments, but in Spain employment is seasonal.
Lost rather than destroy. That makes it sounds like on purpose. We call that.
Yeah. Okay. The analysis of the employment trend in this quarter is going up, but of course, because it's seasonal, we're going towards the summer, so there are more people. So you would say, yes, there's more employment in Spain. The argument from the opposition is to say, yes, we have more employment in Spain, but the quality of employment and the wages are very precarious, to say the least. And if you look at the figures, which I was looking at this morning, amongst listening to some Argentinian expert on viruses, it's that a lot of it comes from hospitality. So if you're asking me what, obviously those places are needed because we need people working in hospitality, but me being the main driver of the employment to be hospitality doesn't say much of a robust economy.
Also, the thing if I'm talking across you, Ali, but the thing is, it's not only the number of jobs and the industries involved in, but it's where they are. Because again, are we going to see that seasonal thing? I mean, getting reports this week of medical staff, not saying doctors, but medical staff at the Costa del Sol Hospital, and we've seen it in Mallorca and Ibiza, living in cars.
Well,
so I mean, should we be creating jobs that aren't, on the coasts or in the big cities? Because obviously, there's, Spain's a big country. There are big rural areas that are depopulating. I mean, surely it should be a case of trying to spread the employment throughout Spain.
Well, let me just emphasise on that bit that you said about the doctors living in cars. That's not true.
I didn't say doctors, that's medical staff.
Well, medical staff, I doubt for a minute. I mean, this has been reported in Marbella this morning, and there was on the radio as well saying, medical staff living in their cars. I don't believe that's true for a minute, because I know the medical staff work in the hospital, and some young nurses, for instance, they organise themselves and they rent an apartment where they share and everything else. The problem of apartments and accommodation available is difficult for them and for everybody else. It's not exclusive to them. It's a problem for everyone. Yes. But people find solutions to it, and sharing is one of the solutions, and most people are taking up at the moment. It's not ideal, but it's a way of sort of dealing with the problem here and now. In terms of the quality of employment, yes, there are some more quality of employment. If you look at places like Malaga, for instance, which has attracted a number of tech companies to come and base themselves here and everything else.
It's a hub.
But we are still reliant on these temporary jobs that happened in the primary sector, agriculture and livestock and everything else. And the second one is hospitality. And it is not only on the coast, it's everywhere, because tourism now is not only exclusive for the coast. You got tourism in big cities, a lot of it, rural areas growing. It's a country that 12% of GDP comes from tourism. That's a massive amount. It's one of the it's one of the engines of the economy of Spain. 12% is a lot. 13%. So, but those create jobs that they're not highly paid jobs. And unfortunately now, most of the hospitality is controlled by big companies, big hotel groups and everything else. So some of the capital is created in Spain, but it goes to international companies who own all those infrastructures. So is there a healthy economy, as the minister says? It's better than what it was, and certainly it's doing better than some other European countries. But is it ideal? No, I don't think it is ideal. I think it needs a lot of improvement. I'm
looking vague here because absolutely agree with what you say, Andres, and I agree with also what you say that it is definitely better than some other European countries. But then the problem also is that Italy, for example, has a lot to do with tourism and a lot to do with seasonal working as well. So it is in all of our Mediterranean countries where we depend on people coming to visit us when it's cold up in the north. The times that we have here, which is a small window spread over the year, in fact, and with the amount of, you're looking very vague over there too, Giles, is definitely a seasonal thing. But this is yearly. It's always the same. It's exactly the same like last year or this year. The figures are different. It's not going to change, unfortunately.
One thing that is different in terms of the energy is that during the Ukraine war, Spain had got some ways in terms of the generating electricity, where we have been betting on renewables, and that makes a difference on the supply of energy to Spain. The other countries may not have such a big infrastructure.
Portugal does, doesn't it?
Portugal has, for instance, yes. But if you look at Italy, for instance, it's very reliant on gas from the Middle East and the oil from the Middle East, where in Spain we have supplies elsewhere. But it doesn't matter where the supply comes from, because oil is traded internationally, so it's still expensive for us, as it is for the United States. So, that drives inflation. The only good thing about Spain is that perhaps we may suffer restrictions of supply a little bit better than other countries where they rely more on the Middle East supply, which is currently...
You talk renewables, though, but I mean, it's like, this is a year since we had the famous shutdown. It marks a year since the famous shutdown. And have we still got the bottom of that yet?
No. There has been loads of reports and everything else. We all, the government don't want to admit that the problem was on the distribution, because of course you have, like any other country,
of course, the huge power outage this happened last year, for those who can't remember. Who can forget last year when everything went black?
But it happens with the infrastructures. The infrastructure is owned by the state, and then the private companies are the ones who buy into it. They give you the supply to your home and everything else. So there's been a fight between what the blame to the infrastructure was and the blame to the private companies. I think the consensus is that, or consensus of opinion is that the problem was on the infrastructure of the state. That was where the breakdown was. The same with the trains. You got the company Adif that is a state company that controls the infrastructure of the rail, and then you got the private companies that use that infrastructure to sell the product to the consumer. So in both of the breakdowns, both in the blackout and the train accident, what has been to blame has been the actual infrastructure. So the government should take a step and say, look, hands up, our fault, we're going to solve it. In terms of the energy, when you were saying is that the problem with the blackout apparently was an oversupply of renewables that the system couldn't cope with. That seems to be the general explanation that I've seen around in different papers and different outlets. And they are been working on being able to store and supply to avoid that situation again. But that's a lot of investment that has to go in there. But it is a good thing that we have and we are developing the renewable energy supply, because it's in the long run it's going to be cheaper, and we're not going to have the problems of the international trade of gas and everything else.
Have you seen that Iran is now sending oil not through the Strait of Hormuz? They've made a way to go around inland through Tashkent and across down to China. I read about that yesterday. Very interesting. Very interesting.
Thank you very much. This just in. Regarding Spanish workforce, 25 million in the workforce, 2.25 million in work, the highest in history, 16.5 million in full-time contracts, highest GDP growth of any major European country, all achieved under a socialist government. The Partido Popular simply can't bring themselves to recognise the success of what socialists have achieved.
That's a great explanation. You go and vote for the socialists if you think that they're doing well.
In the USA also, the Conservatives cannot get over what the Socialists, the Democrats have done.
But it's interesting how the Socialists are taking the credit for that, when it has been a lot of the Spanish company developing, despite the government, into creating these jobs and to creating this growth. So I think we've done very, very well despite the government.
I like the way you say that, despite, as if I'm just trying to create something. What's we did? Nothing, sir. Nothing, not doing anything. Just creating employment quietly, despite the government.
Yes.
95278 4000 is the phone number. Studio@tre.radio is the email. The Facebook page is Talk Radio Official. You can WhatsApp me in +34 645 99, 67, 95. Thank you, Zoe, for your message. I've kind of moved on from that subject now, but thank you very much for your message. The blackout resulted, and nice to hear from you, Zoe. The blackout resulted from a combination of many interacting factors, including oscillations, gaps in voltage, I'm feeling that today, and reactive power control, differences in voltage regulation practices, and generated disconnections in Spain, and uneven sub-stabilization capabilities. These factors led to fast increases of voltage and cascading generation disconnections in Spain, resulting in the blackout. There you go. If anybody asks you what happened, cascading generation disconnection in Spain.
That's your technical explanation for you, Giles. Thank you very much.
That's written by...
I'm glad you were able to get that out.
That's written by Maria, aged 4. The government of Spain applied the Royal Decree Law on the 29th of June 2025 as a response to the blackout, which focused on electricity storage, procedures, demand participation, plant operation, electricity-intensive industries, and electricity grids. It was later repealed in July 2025 by the Spanish Parliament. By April 2026, Spain had 193 megawatts of grid batteries and 339 megawatts of home batteries, with more in forthcoming projects. So thank you for that indeed. There you go.
As so much wind was around yesterday, I mean, it was just unbelievable. Okay, Giles.
Yeah.
I have now come into negotiations with Iberdrola to stick up a huge, great wind turbine in my back garden.
You can get next to my pole.
Exactly. There you go.
Back after this.
Viewpoint on Talk Radio Europe with
Giles Brown.
Always live, always lively. It's straight to the lines we go. Morning, caller, you're live on TRE. What's your name? Where are you calling from? What's your viewpoint, please?
Charles, Peter again.
Hi, Peter again.
Right, Peter again, yeah. So someone give my second...
Exactly, you're no, yes,
yeah.
apellido.
Seeing as we've been painted the worst case scenario with fuel, oil and holiday prices and that, I'll attempt to give a best case scenario.
Okay.
In a couple of weeks' time, I don't think it's been cancelled, President Donald Trump meets with President Xi in China, of all places. I think most people are aware of that. And so when he goes there in a couple of weeks' time, he's going to not go there unless something is sorted or going to be sorted with Iran. He's obviously going to go there and tell China in no uncertain terms that they need to step up to the plate and sort Iran out, which I think they're going to have to do, because Iran are bleeding $400 million in dollars and several million barrels per day, or hundreds of millions of barrels per day, and the economy is on the brink of collapse. Now, in the next few days, and for people that think Trump doesn't know what he's doing, or his advisors don't know what they're doing, they know. And as I said, during COVID, do you remember when you had someone on that said oil could never go to zero? And I said I'd spat my coffee out at the time, because all these ships were around the world loaded with oil and they had nowhere to put it. And if they don't know where to put it, they have to pay for it to go somewhere. Right. Well, the same as when we had this blackout, what people don't talk about is Spain were running so much at the time, they were giving it to, well, they weren't giving it. France and Portugal were, Spain were paying them to take it because they had nowhere to put it. That's why France and Portugal went out as well, because we were paying our electric bills whilst they weren't paying their electric bills, because they were taking it off of us at less than cost. So everything can go to zero or below zero. Now, all these ships around the world, not just the ships, all loaded up with oil. Now, in Iran, when you drill for oil, in America, you drill a couple of miles, you go out a couple of miles. And I said at the time, when it was spoke about that these oil companies should pay this one-off tax, so they were making billions of dollars. But I said that you wouldn't give them a tax rebate when they keep drilling in bad times, because they can't cap those wells. Now, Iran are going to have to cap them wells. And in fact, they're probably capping them now, or going to cap them in the next few days. Once you cap that well, the capacity of that well drops massively, and you'll never get the same amount of oil out of it. Plus, the capacity above ground, they've got nowhere to put it. But they're still drilling for it. They've got nowhere to put it. They're barely shipping anything. They don't know what to do with it. And they're about to run out of capacity, which means they have to shut down their wells. This is a game of chess. And I think the West or the USA are playing it perfectly. So he's going to go out to China, I believe, and he's going to say to Xi, listen, you've been buying black market oil under market value. What we'll do is we'll open up the Hormuz. UAE have pulled out of OPEC. They produce 3.5 million a day. They're going up to 5 because they think that it's not competitive. As soon as OPEC starts to fracture, they start to compete. Oil starts to drop off a cliff. The extra oil out there has to be sold off. The future markets will drop off of a cliff. And China will be accepting, or they will possibly accept, that the fact that when the oil starts coming out, they can buy it at a discounted rate. That means Russia can start sending it through. So Russia will be happy to send it through. Already, when I said Trump would attack Europe, he's attacked Europe. He's taken 5,000 out of 35,000. But he's hinting to Europe about NATO, about pulling troops out, about making peace with Russia. Russia starts to produce oil. We open up the Hormuz. China starts buying oil. Everybody starts producing and manufacturing at a cheaper rate. Inflation drops. Everybody can go on holiday again, can't they? So there's the best case scenario. Not saying it's going to be that, but it certainly isn't going to be the worst case scenario either. Probably somewhere in the middle. So I'll leave you on that one, Giles.
Thank you very much, there, Peter. Okay. Joining up the dots par excellence, as I said there. That's quite,
I want to buy the crystal ball that he's got.
Exactly. I just want to, yes.
All of this wouldn't have happened if Trump had not invaded Iran and did the nonsense that he did in the Strait of Hormuz. Finish. The Strait of Hormuz was open. Ships were going in and out and nobody was having any problem. Iran was still doing whatever Iran is doing. I do not agree with their internal politics whatsoever, but it was internal. And then along comes on the board of peace. Don't forget the board of peace, where people have to pay $1 billion whatever to get into this, and then 2 days afterwards he goes and invades Iran. Yep. And there is the problem. It started from them and not before.
I disagree in the sense that you say the internal politics of Iran were internal. The problem is that they weren't internal.
I'm talking, Andres, about the problems that they were having, with horrendous. I do not agree with anything of that. I haven't visited, as I said, but I do not agree with that. But
they were meddling in the Gulf. They were sponsoring terrorist groups.
Yes.
They were causing chaos all around. So you can't say the policy of the Iranians was internal, so let them be. It was affecting everyone around them and beyond, so something had to be done. Whether what they've done is the correct thing. When everything started in Iran, I thought it was a genius masterpiece. They are weak because they had the protest inside Iran from their own people.
That's what I was talking
the repression there had been tremendous. The talk was between they killed protesters in the region of between 5,000 and 30,000, depends on where the source is, and some people say even more. So the timing seemed right. At least it seemed to me. Of course, what do I know in the world of geopolitics? But it seemed reasonable to think, well, they are weak now. If they hit them, the government may tumble, the regime may fall, and things can be changed. But that hasn't happened. So that's why in programs before, I question the advisors. That's, I think, why the caller mentioned his advisors as well, because could they not foresee or didn't have enough intelligence to know that the regime would not tumble and the Strait of Hormuz could be kidnapped by them?
I'm going to come back onto point, if you don't mind me saying so. President Obama had worked for years to get a deal with Iran, where they were not going to enrich uranium, etc., etc. The odious orange came in and tore it up. And from then on, you have seen all of this nonsense going on. I do not agree with what goes on within Iran and with Hamas and Hezbollah at all. Don't get me wrong. But the people who were protesting in Iran were doing so, and they were making slow progress. And now it's all been escalated out of proportion. And the problem is that the whole globe is suffering because of what America did. You cannot deny that.
952784000. Morning call. Oh, yeah. Oh, no, you're back again. Morning calling. You're live on TRE. What's your name? Where are you calling from? What's your viewpoint, please?
Hello, it's John in Benavista.
Hi, John in Benavista. How are you? Long distance caller as always.
The sun's shining. Well, can I just say I can't disagree with the lady on the panel more. If I tried. She has a serious drug derangement, as we all know. But, no, I have to agree.
Oh, he's about to be run over. Sorry? Say again.
Can you hear me?
Only just. You sound like you were about to be run over by a motorcyclist a minute ago.
Yeah, I've got my earpiece on. I'm driving on the Carretera. That's better. I'll put the window up. No, she's suffering from serious Trump derangement syndrome.
I am suffering from
Trump
what?
derangement syndrome.
Oh, go away.
Sorry, my testicle. Andreas, on the other hand, yeah, he seems to have the whole idea correctly. The timing of the attack on Iran was perfect. They're weakest. And how the lady can say that they only affected internal politics, Iran internally, is totally misguided in my opinion. I mean, they were attacking they've been attacking American bases for years, terrorist attacks, Beirut, everything. The timing is perfect.
I have not disagreed with that.
Sorry, can I just finish? Yes, you did. You agreed with pretty much everything. Disagreed with pretty much everything. Because of your despise of Trump, basically. He could find a cure for cancer and you still wouldn't like him. But anyway, yeah, sorry, I've lost my train of thought now. But no, I just have to agree with Andreas, I guess.
There you go. Well, thank you for your call in there. Drive carefully.
Thank you. Have a great day.
I will try to. 952784000 is the phone number if you want it. We've got 4 minutes left. We've got 4 minutes left. I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I'll tell you what I'm going to do now, apart from going and have a very large coffee afterwards. I'll tell you what, yeah. Well, I'm going to quote the Goodbye Skills. I'll tell you what I want, what I really, really want. No, here is the thing. Because, do you know what's happening on Friday? David Attenborough turns 100. Now,
wow,
exactly.
I didn't know that.
I know that's why. Well, exactly. That's why I'm.
Oh, that's something to celebrate. What a nice chat.
Incredible.
You see, we can be here on Viewpoint. You see, and it can be one of the more
celebrating things.
It can be one of the more, so we say, a cappella. Sometimes it's sometimes it is like, I don't know, the thin blue line or the thin red line at Waterloo, holding the a well precisioned military machine. It can be like the Red Arrows. We can be everybody knows what they're doing. It slots into place, and we fly in perfect harmony. Sometimes it can be Genghis Khan's Mongol heralds charging off the steps, and I think today has been an absolute thing of that. However, I'm glad you like that image. I
said he was the original Alika warrior.
Listen, I'm telling you now. One thing. I reckon I was Genghis Khan's evil twin in the previous life. Because the way I'm getting,
it doesn't surprise me.
The way I'm getting karma at the moment. So therefore, but if you think about it, I mean, everything about the world's terrible, and people, there's nobody you can look up to anymore, and the world's good to hell in a headbasket. But you've got people like David Attenborough who have been ploughing this at times lonely furrow. He was going on about environmental issues before it became fashionable. He was getting people involved with the environment before he did his amazing, The Secret Life of Plants, The Blue Planet, before he hung out with gorillas in Rwanda. Ali, you're going to say something, inspiring.
There was a wonderful documentary just yesterday or the day before, the making of all of his series from when he started. It was absolutely fascinating.
Indeed. Mm-hmm. I mean, you think about these days, they put, you can go under the oceans and, you can get an eye view of a gnat and things. But when he was doing, he had basically a box brownie camera the size of
have no
an
idea
anti-tank
what they
missile.
went through.
Yeah, exactly. And he might get run over by a Komodo dragon if you were lucky.
And he's going to turn 100, is he?
Yes, that's it.
How very marvellous.
He should be designated like the Japanese do for somebody who is so incredibly good at their whatever they do, become a national living treasure.
What's the flip side of that? Because I could be well up for that at the moment on today's performance. What do you think? Is there if there's a Tasmanian Medal of Honour or something like that? I don't know.
I wonder if you look deep enough into the social media, if someone
Somebody's trolling.
Someone is trolling. He's got haters out there saying, "Oh, what a nasty man."
I mean, literally, the one, the one person you could not hate on. Yeah. It's got to be David. I mean, unless you're like a Canadian seal clubber and say, you ruined my industry.
Or the Japanese who go after the mink, the whales.
Are you going to get the mink with a Peter Sellers impersonation?
No, it's difficult to find someone to hate about David Attenborough.
Why don't, on social media, why don't you take in a social media experiment and put in social media, I can't stand that Attenborough, I think he's a complete charlatan, and see what the comeback's like. Because I know that you don't have a media account, so you can set up a social media account just for that
exclusively
day.
For that,
and see what he can do.
He is so incredible, that man.
Yeah, indeed. Just want to take this call. If it's not David Attenborough related, then it's going straight off. Is it David Attenborough related?
Hello, I just want to say that I totally agree with the lady.
Thank you very much.
Yep.
Thank you very much indeed. I'm not sure in what context, but we totally agree with the lady. Listen, once again, we're almost out of time. It's been my pleasure and a privilege to bring you today's Viewpoint. Unconstructed though it was, my thanks to Andres Gallardo.
Thank you very much, Giles. A very important Champions League match tonight between Atletico Madrid and Arsenal.
And I'll bring you the result tomorrow. And obviously the lovely Alia Balabapule.
Thank you very much, Giles. Always a pleasure and great fun. We have such a giggle in the studio. It's unbelievable.
This what is loosely termed a show will be repeated at 6 o'clock. Stephen Ritson will be picking through the ashes of this one and trying to work out what just happened.
I am sure he will be.
You've been listening to a TRE production. If you've enjoyed this programme, there'll be another episode waiting for you next week, right here on this platform, where you can also access our extensive back catalogue of shows and interviews. For more information on our live programming, social media channels and apps, and how to contact Talk Radio Europe, please visit TRE.radio.